And it is officially WrestleMania weekend. Welcome to the new YouTube edition of Top Rope Spoilers, subsidiary of On the Ring Apron. I'm Steve.
I'm Kia.
We've got Alyssa behind the camera as well. Say hey.
Hey.
And don't worry, hey, you're going to be seeing plenty more of Alyssa. You guys have asked for, so a little more coming up here in a little bit. But we are here for the first of our 3 Top Rope Spoilers episodes. You'll notice the setup of what we've done. Things a little different because we're doing the YouTube, trying to do the whole YouTube thing now. First of all, a great shout out to the platform Instagram. That's what we did for our first, 2 years of doing this. We crossed over 2 years last week, actually.
Really? Wow.
And, we've come a long way. It's helped us every step of the way, helped really give us the foundation of what we've created to this point. But we've decided it's time for this week to not just be a week of, great excitement in terms of WrestleMania, but also for an evolution of our show as well. So a lot more to come in terms of how our show is going to progress going forward.
You know how much I love evolution, how I love when I see people evolving, shows evolving, movies evolving. So it's a great transformation. Let's see what happens.
But as anybody who's watched our shows before knows that, when it comes to like our backgrounds and stuff, we're not quite changing those yet. But this is for NXT Stand and Deliver. First of all, a shout out to 2K Baby and Marshmello for letting us use Like This as the theme song for NXT Stand and Deliver. So good shout out for them. Let me correct that. I'm sorry. Former 24/7 champion Marshmello. As he did win the title and held it for a couple of hours during a Monday Night Raw last summer. But if you've never joined us before, this is essentially our prediction show where we have an opportunity to be able to kind of show whether we actually know what we're talking about and deserve to still be here or whether we don't. And so far, this is obviously the last full show of the year, so we do have Stand and Deliver and WrestleMania each combined together. WrestleMania both opens and closes our season as we bring it into Season 2. Kia's still holding that 61-59 advantage, but there are over 25 matches this weekend, so plenty of time for me to still be able to make up the difference.
I feel like that was a challenge.
Yeah, and I also felt like you stepped in a little too soon. Let's also, of course, for those of you who can see the board over here, the last time NXT had a pay-per-view or a premium live event, someone over here went perfect. Got all 5 correct and managed to do things. So that Survivor Series 5 from Omos is still what's holding the difference for you right now. But let's get into our matches. I never thought that our first live stream would be at 11 o'clock at night Eastern, so, go figure.
But you have to understand we're busy, so, I mean, we got to do what we got to do.
Between for those of you who aren't aware, between myself, Kia, and Alyssa, we work a combined 7 jobs. So we're very busy, and that's not including parenting, homework, track schedule, preschool. Add in everything else. We're very busy people. So we'll move on from that. You aren't here to hear about our social life. You guys want to talk wrestling, so let's do it.
Let's get into it.
So let's move into our first match on the card, and it was officially announced on NXT 2.0 this last week as the pre-show card, and it will be for the Women's Tag Team Championship as Toxic Attraction with Gigi, Dolin, and Jayne will defend the NXT Women's Tag Team titles against the reformed team of Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. Obviously, we have seen throughout the entire years, including the implosion that we got to see in person at Halloween Havoc, Dakota and Raquel have been at each other's throats, and yet with the now disappearance of Wendy Chu on Dakota's side at the end of the tournament of the Women's Dusty Cup, it's Raquel that ultimately was like, look, I need a partner, you need a partner, and we both want the same thing. We both want gold. We've proven we can do this because they were the first NXT Women's Tag Team Champions.
Yeah, they were.
And now they get a chance to do it in what a lot of people are thinking could possibly be a great revival of a team, but also possibly their swan song at NXT as well.
The way I view it, I feel like it could possibly be a swan song, but I also know too we've had a lot of people say they want to remain on NXT for as long as they can, even if it comes to ending their contract. But to see these two back together again, we know they can work together. They've done it before. They can do it again. Again, you said they both want the same thing, and these titles, technically, I feel like in my opinion, it's nice to have seen it on, Toxic Attraction, but I believe they are due to be over here.
Toxic Attraction is going to be very similar to the way that the Bloodline is on SmackDown, where essentially they're going to lose the titles likely simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be really kind of a setup for the Women's Championship match later in the evening, because if Toxic Attraction was to lose the women's tag titles, you're probably seeing the NXT women's title come off Mandy later in the night. But if Jacy and Gigi retain, then you like Mandy's odds of being able to keep the championship. Although NXT always known for its swerves, so you never know what you might end up with. You've got the advantage right now. 7 matches on this takeover card. Most NXTs only have 6, but we actually get 7 on this one. So who do you have and why?
So I feel like this could go either the right way or this could go the wrong way with these two right here, because they have worked together and they have won the women's tag titles for NXT, but also at the same time there was an implosion that we got to see firsthand, and we saw it when Raquel started to actually become not Dakota's shadow, but actually became a lead, and I guess Dakota kind of felt like she was falling behind again, so she felt that she was due that respect, came back and in more of a less of a manner beat the crap out of Raquel. But so we could see it go either way with this team. I love this team. I've seen this team win. We were actually there at Halloween Havoc when they won. Mm-hmm. And it was great to see.
Kind of interesting to see both teams kind of come full circle here in what is the big NXT event of the year.
But in my opinion, I honestly, as much as I love Dakota and Raquel, I don't see Toxic Attraction losing. The reason I don't see them is because they seem like they're close. They want the same thing. They step at the same time. They speak at the same time. I feel like they work together quite well as a cohesive team. Raquel and Dakota, not so much. We could see good. We could see bad. Even though they both want the same thing, we're going to have one trying to fight over the other to say, I'm better than you, so forth and so on. And I think that's going to be their downfall. So I see the Toxic Attraction keeping these titles, technically retaining their titles.
See, being down 2 heading into the final weekend of the year, I've got to carefully pick and choose where I'm going to try to make up ground on the ones in which you get to pick first. But I got to agree on this one. I've got to go with Toxic Attraction as well. Dakota and Raquel have done excellent work with NXT. They went through the black and gold brand. Exactly. They went through the run. Let's remember that the two of them have been here since the first Mae Young Classic.
That's
all
true.
The way back in 2016.
But they didn't look like this.
They didn't. But at the same time, this is exactly what you have come to expect. This is the veteran leadership that at this point has earned that right to be able to be called up to the main roster during a period of time in which we a lot of times see NXT folks get called up too early. Mm-hmm. And now we're even starting to see the age of mid-card to low-card main roster stars like Dolph Ziggler then finding success back in NXT again. And Mandy Rose is no exception to that either.
Exactly.
So it just seems like Dakota and Raquel have run the gambit here in NXT. Raquel has won both championships. Dakota, winning the women's tag titles with her. They've won the women's Dusty Cup. There's nothing left for them to do here.
Nothing.
So at this point, it's time for them potentially to be called up, probably together, up to the main roster starting on the Raw and SmackDown after. So I don't think it's necessarily the Toxic Attraction is retaining because of the fact that they are the more deserving team. I think this is kind of a chance for them to get one last match in front of the crowd. I hate that it's on the pre-show.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of them putting on the kickoff. Maybe they'll change that up at the last second. But because of this, I really do think this match kind of breeds more, farewell and good luck to Raquel and Dakota. So I like Toxic Attraction to retain as well.
Don't you always say that the people that are going to the main roster always end up on their sword?
There's an old wrestling adage from Japan that says that when it typically leans more towards retirement than it does anything else, that typically you lose your final match. Yeah. And so that seems rather appropriate in this particular instance. But we're both going Toxic Attraction. Let's move to match number 2, a non-title match but certainly one that has certainly created its fair share of hurt feelings as we end up having, as apparently a bug has flown in and Alyssa's freaking out back here. So I don't know what has gotten in the room, but if all of a sudden you see the camera tip over, you'll know why. But definitely some mouth running between LA Knight and Gunther. We all know him as Walter. I'm sorry, that's how you're going to be known. But Gunther essentially is, trying to bring back, the mat is sacred, wanting to establish this mindset, that LA Knight, your mouth gets you championship matches, but your ass can't cash it.
There you go.
Meanwhile, I go out here and I earn my championship matches through hard work, through dedication, and through respecting the art of wrestling. I may get fewer title matches than you. I may not get the main event spots because your mouth and your glitz and glamour will get you there. But at the end of the day, I know I can outwork you, and that's where this match is coming into place. Gunther's tired of seeing Knight essentially run his mouth and get the matches that he wants because he can goad folks into it, and he wants to beat some respect into Knight.
I mean, I don't blame him. If I was Gunther too, excuse me, I'm so sorry for, botching your name. If I was Gunther too, I would. I mean, LA Knight, every time you see him, he's goading someone into giving him a match, and it normally works. But, and he might win those matches, he might lose those matches. On the other hand, we've seen Gunther, or at the time he was known as Walter, he was the leader of Imperium. He literally said...
Well, he still is.
I mean, technically. But he got both the guys in Imperium to follow suit. That tells you right there he's a leader, he's dedicated, he's devoted, not to this craft, but he's going to do everything he can. Yes, does he get fewer title reigns? But guess what? Fewer title reigns means he holds these titles longer. And that's what we've seen from Gunther or Walter. He held the title for...
longest reigning United Kingdom champion of all time and the longest reigning champion in the last 25 years, although Roman's closing in.
Another story for another time.
Yep.
So I'm just saying, I'm not much of a fan of LA Knight. It's nothing against the glitz and the glam because I'm a girl and I love that. But I also love hard-working, devoted dedication, and that's what Gunther shows every time he goes out there on the mat. I'm so used to Imperium and the way they uphold themselves and their stances and everything, so I just feel like compared to yes.
So it seems like this one, is pretty straightforward exactly what it is, and it's really just a matter of which way do you want to lean it. You've got the old school with Gunther, you have the new school with LA Knight. I go first on this one. I'm 100% going Gunther on this one. Nothing about this breeds an LA Knight upset. I don't see this ending. The only way I could see it potentially happening is a disqualification win for Knight if Imperium decides to get involved. But Gunther, is a person, he wasn't brought to NXT to simply just be a mid-carder. He was definitely brought here to change the landscape. And simply put, he's taking folks like LA Knight and essentially putting them on their backsides because he is determined that he is going to, make the mat sacred again. And that's exactly what he's got going here. So, I think this match will very quietly be one of the better ones of the night. It won't be the match of the night, but I definitely could see this being one of the better ones, but I do see Gunther winning.
In my opinion, again, I'm not a fan of LA Knight. There's no mystery to that. From the moment he got here, I thought he was arrogant, I thought he was cocky, I thought he was pompous. And it doesn't seem like he's changed. But also, if you're going to be all that, you need to have the game to back it up. And if you don't have the game to back it up, then you ain't nothing in my book. Now, Gunther, silently, he speaks when he needs to, and he lets his craft do the rest of the work. He lets his hard work and devotion and dedication do the rest of the work. So for me, this is very easy. I'm picking Gunther to win the whole entire thing. See ya, LA Knight. You can go back to Hollywood.
We'll see how that ends up panning out for him. So far, 2 matches, 2 the same. We move on to our next one, and definitely, actually, it was even officially announced on NXT 2.0 this last week that this will be the final match of Tommaso Ciampa's NXT career. He stood up with a chair that said 9/9/16, which is when he officially made his NXT debut, and you move all the way to what will end up being 4/2/2022, so nearly 6 full years in NXT. But he is saying this is it, and his final opponent being a person who has been a thorn in his, and frankly, other folks, other black and gold veterans like Pete Dunne when he was still there, Johnny Gargano, and essentially he is the last, the last Templar of the Black and Gold. But he's calling it at least an NXT career anyway, and is ready to likely be heading up to either Raw or SmackDown that next week. But Ciampa will get one last chance to fight in front of the NXT crowd at first. And something I didn't note earlier, this is the first live audience NXT event outside of the Performance Center in over 2 years.
Wow.
So some of these wrestlers, have been used to, in their entire NXT careers, haven't wrestled in front of more than maybe 200 or 300 people.
But it's going to be a lot
different. And now all of a sudden you're going to have 15, 16, 17,000 people now in that arena. Everyone knows who Ciampa is. Tony D'Angelo maybe not as well known if you haven't been paying attention to the 2.0 brand, but this has another one of those swan song type of feels. The question is again, will by the code of the samurai come in? Is Ciampa going to go out on his sword?
For me, honestly, you have to think. When we started watching, we watched Ciampa and Johnny come in, and they were DIY, and I absolutely hated it. I didn't like them. But the more you started...
He wasn't that built when he was in DIY.
He was
a damn toothpick.
He was not jacked like this, but
no, look at this. I mean, the shoulder goes out to here and out to here.
Look it up here. That's the point.
I don't have a muscle in my body that's that big. Shut up.
Let's move on. So anyway,
don't you laugh back there.
When Ciampa got here, it was him and Johnny, and it was DIY, and I did not like them. But the more you watched them, the more you saw how well they worked together. It's like you knew behind the scenes they either had to be really good at what they did, or they had to be really close in friendship. And to see them fight back and forth, and Johnny has gone off and done what he's gonna do. I'm kind of sad to see him leave, because you for the longest time you also heard that he was wanting to remain on NXT until he couldn't no more, until he had no contract. But now you're hearing other things, to my stunned shock, that he may be wanting to go ahead and go to the main roster. For me, it's shocking. I feel like he's commanded a presence that's going to, and I know you're not supposed to, but he's commanded a presence where I feel like, in my opinion, this might be his last match, but this will be the best match I think he will put on, because he's one of those people, he's not going to go out there, he's not going to half-ass, anything. He's going to go full tilt, and he's going to make sure that he looks good, his spots are good, he's going to have, D'Angelo over here looking good. So in my opinion, I mean, he's suave, he looks suave, but I would prefer going with the guy that is going to command attention and who's going to win the match. Now again, I don't know much about him besides his name, but that's not the point.
Well, Tony D'Angelo is a guy who has all the makes and all the models of being a guy who's going to likely be the NXT champion at some point. He, to me, he has a very much of like an Andrade or an Andrade Cien Almas when he was in there.
Okay.
He has a very similar looking build, a very similar look, similar look. Granted, it's New Yorker, Bostonian type of northeastern type of guy. But the idea is, we know the talent level's there. We know he can go up against the, get in the, nitty-gritty matches like War Games and Steel Cage matches, but also has proven that he's capable of being able to win in singles competition as well.
Right.
So I don't think this one's going to be a shy against D'Angelo. I think this is, again, a match where D'Angelo is going to essentially get the rub from the leaving, aging NXT legend in Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa also, mentioned, his family and, him wanting to stay close. Well, now that Willow has started to get a little bit older, Willow's his daughter, for those who aren't aware, now that they're getting older and, that travel is not as big of a deal anymore, I think maybe the whole perspective of, I want to do NXT or I want to retire maybe isn't as big of a deal anymore.
Yeah, sure.
And so, Ciampa has clearly moved on. He's already appeared on Monday Night Raw a few times, along with Bron Breakker and his storyline with Dolph Ziggler. So, it's not out of the universe that, he still has several years left in front of him in the main roster, but he's going to give the NXT universe one more good push here. You're actually up first. Who do you got?
I mean, it's very easy. I've watched Ciampa, over the last 6 years, and, again, I have fallen in love with what type of person he is. He's a fighter. He is strong, mentally, verbally, emotionally. He has the makings of not just being the best wrestler, but he is, in my opinion, the last and best wrestler. Nothing against a shot on the new 2.0, but he is the last pillar that is standing before Black and Gold is officially gone. I feel like he's going to take Black and Gold, and he's going to, if he goes to the main roster, he's still going to bleed black and gold, but I feel like in this match, I feel like he's going to take everything and go. Like, I think he's going to win. So my pick is Ciampa.
I'm going with Ciampa as well. This is not the Code of the Samurai here. This is one where, if nothing else, this almost feels like a Lifetime Achievement Award match.
Exactly.
Thank you for everything you've done in NXT. And don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean he's just going to go in there and squash D'Angelo in 4 minutes and that's going to be it. D'Angelo has proven through his time already at 2.0 that he is absolutely one of the future champions and future superstars. You could be looking at a guy like D'Angelo 5 or 6 years from now who could be standing in Ciampa's spot right now. But his time is not here yet, and this is Ciampa's moment. You've heard him use that line, it's my time, this is my moment. He's used it positively, he's used it negatively,
yeah.
But this is one where he's going to point out to every person in the universe, ourselves included that morning, I guess early afternoon, and he's going to give them one last show for the ages. I do like Ciampa in this one as well.
I just want to know if this is his last match on the black and gold 2.0 brand. What is he going to wear? Because we saw what he wore at Havoc. So I want to see what he's going to wear for his last match in NXT.
Guess we'll find out. Part of the wardrobe's, half the fun. Moving on, all championship matches the rest of the way, and we're going to start with, and basically just considering the position of where we're standing, pretty much Kia gets to always hold the titles. But this one will be for the NXT Tag Team titles, a triple threat match that will feature the NXT Tag Team Champions Imperium, challenged by the winner of the 2022 Dusty Cup Classic winners, the Creed brothers of Diamond Mine, and also former champions MSK, getting the rematch that they were never given after they dropped the titles at Halloween Havoc. Triple threat rules, first team to score the pinfall wins, no disqualifications, no countouts, so you don't know if someone like Roderick Strong from Diamond Mine, Gunther potentially from Imperium, MSK certainly has its fair share of fans in the back as well, and Imperium has definitely created its fair share of people in the locker room that don't like them, so this has the capability of being the match, but this also is one to paraphrase our current NXT champion, one that could steal the show. This one has great match and very much being the next big rivalry of NXT, very similar to what AOP, DIY, and then you had the Revival all going back 4 or 5 years ago. This is the beginning of that next set.
That is very impressive now that you mentioned all the past tag teams of NXT. So, looking at this lineup, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't. They seem like they're great, but they look like they're high school wrestlers coming straight out of high school. Okay, it is what it is. MSK...
She's trying not to laugh in the back.
MSK, when they won these titles, it was a great day. You could tell they were overjoyed, overwhelmed. It was something that they had been working on. But also we have Imperium. And you have to understand, Imperium is standing tall, standing proud. We don't care if you don't like us. We're not here to be liked. We're here to win championships. As Triple H has stated, if you're not here to win championships, why are you here? That's the mindset that they carry right now, and that's probably why Imperium is holding those NXT tag titles right now.
So, again, this one has great match written all over it, considering also, that you have to have a winner in this match. I think this is the one that honestly could be your match of the night in terms of just the overall just great ability that you've got in the ring. You've got ultimately every combination. The Creed brothers bring both power as well as athleticism. You have the technicality of Imperium, and of course you have the high-fly, quick-pace style of MSK.
Yeah.
Unpredictability is going to be something. I think we're going to see so many near falls, and so many times we're going to jump in and out of our seats. It's going to be ridiculous. I go first on this one. But I'm actually going to go with the Creed brothers winning the NXT tag titles. They were kind of, for all intents and purposes, screwed out of their opportunity to be able to face Imperium straight up because they were attacked backstage when they were supposed to get their championship match for winning the Dusty Cup. And ultimately, MSK was the team that took their place in the championship match that night. And as a result of disqualification once again, MSK now gets into a match that they weren't originally supposed to be in. But it seems like this is a great time to coronate the Creed brothers with Roderick Strong dropping the Cruiserweight Championship. And there hasn't been any gold with the Diamond Mine as of late. This seems like a perfect opportunity to start the new run in NXT by getting 2.0 its first real run with championships, with a team from the 2.0 brand really getting a championship run here. I could easily see this going to any of the three, but I'm going to take the Creed brothers.
Okay, all right. Now, on the other hand, you're going with the ones that are coming from high school and are here on the roster.
Couldn't even give them college.
Okay, fine. I will give them college at best. They're coming straight out of college like they're coming into, But for me, I'm going to go ahead, and as much as I like MSK and I love the high flying and the high power and the high energy, and it is what it is, we've seen them hold the titles, and it was a great run while they had them. I was kind of sad to see it, Halloween Havoc. They lost the titles, but look at where the titles are going to. And these fellas, Imperium literally shows you, again, we're here to win titles. We're not here to make friends. We want to make friends, we'll go elsewhere. But the way I view it, I don't see Imperium losing these titles, their titles, to any one of these two teams. So my pick is going to be Imperium.
Okay. And you also have to, of course, take into consideration the ring general watching in the back.
That's true.
And remember, it's fair game for him to come out and potentially get involved in this too. No different, like I said, with Roderick Strong, Malcolm Bivens, any of the folks. And MSK has its fair share of friends in the back as well.
What about Riddle? Because I know for one time, at some point, Riddle was.
Well, that was a couple of months ago. I'd like to think Riddle's going to be a little occupied getting ready for WrestleMania later that night.
That's true.
So it is what it is. So we've got our and that's our tag team championship preview, and the first one we picked opposite of each other. So that may be my chance to either start making up some ground or potentially move out of the way. Let's move further down the chart at least.
Yeah, move.
No, I got it. So we're now moving into our next championship match. 3 more left on the card. This one is for the North American Championship. Ooh. And as is in Stand and Deliver or WrestleMania weekend tradition, it is a multi-person ladder match featuring the current incumbent champion, who has actually held the title far longer than I thought he would, in the A champion, Carmelo Hayes. But boy, does he have a run in front of him, as you are looking at 4 folks hungry to win their first main NXT roster championship, with Grayson Waller, Santos Escobar, Solo Sikoa, Baby Oos, and Cameron Grimes. Now,
I'm sorry.
You look across the different runs. Cameron Grimes had his small storyline this past summer with the $1 Million Championship in his rivalry against LA Knight. And, of course, Escobar was the longest reigning cruiserweight champion of the NXT era. But outside of that, there hasn't been any main roster gold or main NXT roster gold around anybody's waist except Carmelo Hayes himself. And with you adding in the ladder match stipulation, it essentially means that we're going to see a lot of devastation, a lot of high-flying maneuvers, and essentially this one's wide open.
Let me tell you something right now. This brother right here, this is
this one right here?
That one right there.
That one right here?
That Solo Sikoa, Baby Oos, whatever you want to call him, he has the Uso blood coursing through him.
Alyssa, what's the only thing wrong with him? The toes. She can't do the hooves. Solo, pedicure, and you're ready to go for the ladies here at our building. So
I can hook you up, but that's not the point. But what I'm telling you is, look at the face. He is like, he's going to war. He is ready. Minus the feet. Don't look at the feet. Look at them eyes. Look at that nose. Look at them lips. He is ready to take this title off of him. So,
meanwhile, 3 other people in this match as well. So we'll let you have Solo. I'll go over everybody else. Cameron Grimes, of course, has been clamoring ever since the $1 Million Championship storyline ended that he was ready to win gold in NXT. And the North American Championship has been what he's had his eyes set on. Every one of the people in this match, except for Solo, has had a one-on-one championship match with Carmelo Hayes up to this point, with Carmelo beating them all. You add in, however, the ladder match stipulation, which you would think would favor a person like Carmelo, but not necessarily, because Santos, of a luchador background, are going to be extremely good in a match like this. Grayson Waller has proven that he can be high flyer, high speed when he needs to be. Also, we can't forget his backup that he's got also sitting at ringside as well. So he's got a little bit of extra to play with here. Solo is probably the one that's at the most disadvantage in terms of a ladder match because of just his genuine size. But also, I don't think there's much debate here. He obviously will have the power advantage in this match. And you all of a sudden give him the right to use a ladder in any way he chooses. This could get ugly real quick if Solo gets the upper hand. But the one thing I will say, though, is, about our incumbent champion before making the picks, is Carmelo, remember, originally won the championship by using the breakout star contract going all the way back to nearly right after WrestleMania last year. He won the breakout tournament, cashed in, won the NXT North American title over Isaiah Swerve Scott, and now we're sitting here almost 9 months later, and he's still holding this championship. So, when you see so many of these younger stars come out and they win a championship using what is equivalently NXT's version of a Money in the Bank cash-in, you don't expect him to hold it for very long, but he's taken on everyone and anyone that has stepped in his way, and in most circumstances has come out on top. So, I wouldn't underestimate Carmelo in a match like this. So, with this is the 5th one, so we're back to odds. So, you're up first. Who you got?
So, I'm looking at the card, and I'm looking at what we have.
I ask not already knowing the answer.
You don't know the answer.
Okay. We know Alyssa's answer.
What's Alyssa's answer? Alyssa?
Baby Oos.
Okay.
Anyway, fire away.
So I feel like he's good on the mic. He's good at what he does. We've seen this gentleman right here. By hook or by crook, this man will win a title and keep a title. I'm not going to even say, I didn't like it at the time, but I can't sit here and say that he didn't do everything in his power to retain the titles that he had. This one especially. I'm not really too keen on this guy, on Carmelo, but that's fine. And the fact that he's held the title for as long as he has, congratulations. But at this point, it's time for someone else to take that title right off of you. So in my opinion, I could go either way. It could either be Grayson Waller or it could be Solo Sikoa that take the title off of him. Now, we also understand that Grimes has had his fair share of funny stories, they've run him through and through, and he's been great in every storyline that you've put him in, so I could technically see it on him as well. But let's go ahead and just go back to it. Something tells me that Grayson Waller will do whatever he has to get this title. It's not just his arrogance, because I feel like he is kind of arrogant, but I feel like he has the game to back. I feel like he has the game to back it up.
He has an entire social media devoted to his arrogance.
Okay, but Austin Theory doesn't.
We're not talking about Theory.
Okay, but either way, I feel like that would be my pick, honestly. As much as
Waller?
Yeah, I'm going with Waller. Even though Baby Oos has got the mean mug, I'm going to take that title and I'm going to run with it. It is what it is. I'm picking Waller.
Baby Oos is the one that's easy to make. For the easy pick to make here. Honestly, I don't see the North American title being the path for him. I see either it being the NXT Championship or I see an eventual call-up. Obviously, we know his family's, no pun intended, but his bloodline, and there will be an opportunity for him potentially to join up with his brothers and his cousins up on the main roster to essentially help with Roman and the Usos up on SmackDown. So, I'm not going to sit here and say that he can't win this match. I just think there are bigger things in store for him. So then you look at the other 4, and you just wonder, who is the person that would reap the benefit most from this? And the reality is, as much as I am going to probably end up regretting the decision, I'm actually going to pick Carmelo Hayes to retain.
Okay.
And the only reason I say that is because they have built up this entire philosophy that he will take on anyone and everyone. He is the champion, the A champion, as he likes to call himself. And I just see this as being another stepping stone. You look at Trick Williams, who can kind of provide him with a little bit of backup from the side, perhaps at his own expense. But the reality is Carmelo is built for a match like this. Not to sit here and say that Santos or Grayson and Cameron are not, but it just seems like it's set for him to be able to kind of cement his name on the side of that North American Championship by taking out the 4 biggest up-and-comers in the business right now, and then have to set up something new for him. I like Carmelo to retain in this one. I was very tempted to take Santos because I do feel like they're kind of wasting him right now, but I honestly also could feel that Santos might be on his way to the main roster.
Who knows?
So I'm going to take Carmelo to retain here. I need a point, and I feel like that's a pretty good one to give.
Okay.
Because there's also a chance we both could lose. So
we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Exactly.
Here you go.
So fun games till we go to the moon.
To the moon! I can't believe we went the whole thing and didn't say that. We still don't have his hat. We need to work on that.
No, we don't.
2 to go. We move to our co-main event, which is a fatal 4-way for the NXT Women's Championship. Making sure I'm handing you the right one here, and I am. As the, I guess we call her the brunette bombshell now, in Mandy Rose, the now champion for almost 6 months.
Congratulations!
Remember, she won it at Halloween Havoc. We were there back in October, so she is actually closing in on 6 months as NXT Women's Champion. Who would have saw that coming, at the beginning of last year?
But you have to think about all the hard work she has put in.
No one's doubting that at all. She's put in the time, she's put in the years.
So she's deserving.
Yeah, and and she's done it with this fantastic heel-like presence about her of being able to say, look, I'm beautiful, I'm gorgeous, I am the main attraction of NXT.
Ooh.
And yet I'm going to hold the gold, but then I'm also still going to find a way to beat your favorites and keep it around my waist. But she faces definitely her toughest challenge to date as the NXT Women's Champion, as she defends in what was originally a singles match, now turned a fatal 4-way, defending against 2 former NXT champions in Io Shirai and Kaylee Ray, and the up-and-comer upstarter in Cora Jade.
Okay.
So, Mandy definitely a work cut out for her. Again, fatal 4-way rules, no disqualifications, no countouts. First pin takes the championship, so Mandy does not have to factor in the decision to lose the title.
I feel like, let me go ahead and just get it out there, because we all are thinking it, or maybe I'm thinking it. This young lady right here reminds me a little bit of AJ Lee.
That's her mama.
And a little bit of Paige.
That's her mama. AJ.
Are we being serious, or y'all just
No,
messing with me?
but they've trained together, so.
Okay, I feel like she's a mix of them both, and we have to think about Paige is very, she will do whatever she has to. AJ Lee will do whatever she has to. I feel like did I say her name correct?
Cora Jade.
Cora Jade, I feel like even though she's the one that may be at a disadvantage, I feel like she's going to give it her all. Kaylee Ray.
Follower of ours. Hopefully you get a chance to see this.
This girl will swing at anything that moves. She will knock your head off with her baseball bat. And I've seen her with the physical baseball bat. She is crazy. She is wild. She is everything you want. Or at least me, because I'm crazy like that too. Everything you want in a wrestler. You know what I mean? A female wrestler who's not scared to get in there, mix it up, take your head out, and say, I'm going to look good doing it. And you can't say nothing about it. But now, on the other hand, you know how much I love me some Io Shirai. Genie of the Sky, or Genius of the Sky. I never get that correct. I'm so sorry.
Genie. Forget you people.
So I feel like we also know Io Shirai's history. She's gone from what I believe to be heel to face to heel, and I think she's face again. And she can go either way with her. We know she's gotten into some predicaments and she's pulling herself out. The one I still remember is her flying from the steel cage with the trash can, hitting
War Games a couple of years ago.
Woohoo! That is forever ingrained in my mind, but also at the same time, I told you, Mandy Rose has worked hard. She's done everything she's supposed to. She's come up. She's been paired with many different people for many different tag teams. So it's good to see her on her own for the last 6 months doing the damn thing by herself, working hard, and holding a title that she should have held a long time ago before she even left NXT. It was kind of disheartening to see her go to the main roster and then have to come back. But she was rewarded graciously with this title.
Now remember, we need to remember the idea of what this originally was. This was originally, up until earlier this week, this was a one-on-one match between Mandy Rose and Cora Jade. Cora Jade had earned the right to be able to get a match one-on-one with Mandy Rose. Kaylee Ray and Io Shirai essentially putting themselves in the match by winning the Women's Dusty Cup Classic. And instead, in what was been the first time it's ever been used this way, instead of taking a tag team championship match, they instead chose to each enter themselves individually into the women's championship match. Not sure if that's was technically the idea behind it, but that's essentially how they're going to run it. And so you end up with a former NXT champion and a former, actually the longest reigning NXT UK champion of all time, now getting an opportunity to go after gold here in America. You know, and you hit the nail on the head. Mandy Rose has been rewarded for her efforts, and Cora Jade has certainly been pushed to be the future superstar in the women's division, very similar to we've seen from any of the four horsewomen when they were there. And then you look at folks like Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, just to name a few, Ember Moon when she came in, Shayna Baszler, you know, just she's set herself up to be a future star in this business. But it's my pick to open things up, and I'm actually looking across it here, and I don't have any other reason other than I think she has just mastered this art of right place, right time throughout her history as the champion up to this point. I'm going Mandy Rose to retain. I do think it will be a situation where I think that Kaylee and Io essentially have teamed up, but it was really done with a singular purpose, and that was to take out Toxic Attraction. But now that both of them have their eyes set on the same prize, are they going to be able to stay out of each other's way? And as a result, is Cora going to end up getting caught up in the middle of all of this, similar to the way it was when she was with Raquel? So ultimately, Mandy has proven one thing, and that is she is the master at being able to find a way to kind of maneuver through all the chaos and through all of the destruction that goes on around her and find a way to come out looking gorgeous on the other side.
Smelling like a rose.
Bingo. And as a result, the rose will once again bloom here as Mandy, I will choose to retain the Women's Championship, and she will escape this threat as well.
I mean, as good and that great as that all is, I feel like, you know, roses only bloom when needed to. I don't see her retaining, but if she does, congratulations, she is more than deserving. I see there being a new champion, a new women's NXT champion, but I also see from what I've been seeing just from Instagram and what I have caught on Facebook, I feel like these two are going to get in each other's way, but I honestly feel, in my opinion, I could see with these two trying to get in each other's way and trying to go for the same thing, I feel like Cora Jade is going to take advantage of both, and she's going to go for Mandy. And while they're fighting with each other, she's going to do a roll-up pinner, 1, 2, 3, and I feel like Cora Jade somehow, some way will surprise us all and walk away with Mandy's title.
You're kind of going with my answer, but taking it an extra step, because along the way, Cora's had opportunities to win the Women's Championship, and it's like Mandy has always been one step ahead. And it seems like this time you're going with Cora having done her homework. You know, for someone, you know, as young as she is, you know, are they ready to hand her the reins of the women's division at such a young age?
Well, we've seen
but, you know, we've seen it with younger people. Paige was, you know, very young herself when she was the first champion.
Exactly. So I could see it. For me, I feel like it could happen. It's a strong possibility it's going to happen.
Okay, so you're going Cora, I'm going Mandy to retain.
Yeah.
We'll see how this plays out. And that leaves us with just one and what is projected to be the main event of Stand and Deliver. And I don't really think there's much debate on this one that it will be the main event. Sometimes we can always question it, but it is for the NXT Championship, and ironically the only singles match on the entire card that is for a championship, as the new champion, who saw this coming even a month ago in the show-off, Dolph Ziggler, coming down and shocking the world and winning the NXT Championship. He will go one-on-one with the former champion, Bron Breakker, who will be watching his father and his uncle go into the Hall of Fame less than 24 hours before this.
Okay, so
definitely a little extra motivation behind Breakker on this one.
I'm not going to lie. When I found out that Dolph Ziggler had won the NXT title, I was kind of in stunned shock, because I was like, okay, maybe that's just fake news, it's coming across, it's not true.
I can tell you my exact text. I said, Dolph Ziggler is NXT champion. Yes, you read that right.
And all I'm thinking is, I think my husband's messing with me. I don't find this funny. How could you have a main roster person go to NXT? But, you know, I digress in that. But then I started looking at Instagram after the text, and I started looking at Facebook, and I started looking at TikTok, and it was as clear as day. There it was. And I was like, Okay. Now that I've seen this to be true, I feel like it's a great thing. So this title being on Dolph, it's wonderful. I don't know how else to say. I feel like he's deserving too. So.
Okay. Well, I mean, you look at, you now see kind of the changing of the guard here. For the longest time when Ciampa was still trying to hold the black and gold brand together against the up-and-comers of 2.0, it was Breakker that was leading the team for 2.0. Well, now all of a sudden, now that the 2.0ers have kind of taken over and have, essentially start running things, you now have a main roster person who has come down and has won the main championship out from underneath it because Breakker and Ciampa couldn't stay out of each other's way.
Yeah.
But now you're seeing these, these vignettes and whatnot for Breakker essentially saying, I represent this brand and I have allowed someone to come into our home and take our most prized possession. It is my responsibility to go win it back. And if that means I have to snap Ziggler and potentially Big Bob in half in order to do it, I will do so. And as I mentioned earlier, with the additional prestige of watching both of the Steiner brothers go in the Hall of Fame less than 24 hours before that, there's going to be a little extra motivation behind Bron to win this match, but you have to wonder, is he ready? One of the biggest reasons why he didn't win the championship earlier than he did is because he could not control his emotions. Ciampa took advantage of that for quite some time, including a retain at Halloween Havoc, before Breakker finally was able to keep himself, as Ciampa said, took himself into the deep waters and was able to survive. So now Breakker goes up against a person who, trust me, stamina's no issue when it comes to Ziggler. Ziggler can, will make everybody that he faces look good. Any spear he takes makes it look like he's getting hit by a Mack truck.
Krispy Kreme look.
But the reality is, Ziggler has thrived in this new role, very similar to the way Mandy Rose has in the women's division. So you see, Ziggler potentially, it doesn't make much sense for him to have come down and won the title if the only plan is for him to hand it right back to Breakker. So it's hard to see Ziggler losing in this one, but, that's where the fun comes in, with this being the last match before you head to WrestleMania just a couple of hours later for WrestleMania Saturday. It's your pick for the last one. Who walks out as the NXT champion?
Dolph Ziggler, hands down. Nothing against Breakker, but I've seen Dolph Ziggler thrive under pressure. He is known to be the show-off. He is known to steal the show, take the show, do what he needs to do. There's no two ways around it. Dolph Ziggler. That's it.
I'm going to go the other way on this one. I really think you need that. I think you need that good push and that good moment, especially with a number of the people that'll be sitting inside of that arena. 17,000 plus, us being three of them. And a majority of those folks are then going to be turning right around and heading towards AT&T Stadium for WrestleMania Saturday. And I really do feel like, you're going to do respect to the Steiners in making sure that they get an opportunity to be able to watch as their son/nephew, depending upon who you're speaking about, gets an opportunity to really thrive in what will be his first true main event in front of a live audience. Now, Dolph's been doing this for years in front of audiences of 30, 40, 50,000 people.
So this is nothing new
Bron,
for him.
this is going to be brand new to him. Can he get past that? The lights are going to be on brighter than they've ever been for him before. And Dolph, I really do feel like is going to take advantage of that. But, I think the Steiners could potentially, especially on that weekend, could potentially cancel out anything that Robert Roode could be able to do on the outside. And I think that proves to be the difference. And I think Breakker will have done his homework this time, and he will win back the championship over Dolph Ziggler.
Okay.
So after we had 3 straight without picking the same each time, we then go with 4 in a row where we pick different. But that's Top Rope Spoilers, and that's kind of how it works. This is our final one fully for Season 2. Our WrestleMania picks coming up a little bit later. We do have, of course, both of those nights will be done in separate events. If you haven't had an opportunity to check out our giveaway, we are giving away NXT or WWE side plates of your choosing.
Ooh.
But you have to be entered well in about the next 5 minutes, because as soon as this one comes to an end, then that's going to be the end of it. So move quickly, but check out our community page. Also, be sure to watch for our polls where we're actually asking you who you think will win each WrestleMania match. We're asking everyone to jump in and make those picks. It is for a reason, and it will be announced at our WrestleMania shows. Kia, any final thoughts?
No. None.
Brief and to the point. That's what happens when you stream at nearly midnight.
Yeah.
But either way, everybody have a good night. We'll let Kia take us home. But that was Stand and Deliver. WrestleMania coming up a little bit later. We'll see you in a little bit.
Peace out.